Hello everyone, welcome to the Fake Baseball and my first draft video of the 2015 fantasy baseball season. My name is Greg Smith, aka at Greg Sauce on Twitter. I am here to guide you through the draft of the Fake Baseball Reader League. I have been lucky enough to grab the first pick in this draft, thanks to the randomness of Yahoo and, just good karma all over. We are going to be drafting a points league head-to-head today, and I've never drafted a league like this before, so it's going to be a fun experiment. Let's start off by talking about what these reader leagues are in general. The site hosts, a bunch of leagues on Yahoo. If you haven't joined one, I'd encourage you to do so because you can win a bunch of free swag like this sweet Fake Baseball t-shirt, carefully adorned on an adorable dog named apparently Izzy, according to the caption. And the way you get the t-shirt is all you have to do is score the highest score for any given week in the season. Every week, all the head-to-head leagues are going to get combed through. We're going to find the team that scored the most points that week, and we're going to mail you a t-shirt. And if you don't like that, then you'll definitely... I don't know. If you don't like that, you probably won't like this either. But at the end, the team... with the best overall, I think it says, let's see, they're going to award one champion to the most points over the entire year, and you're going to get this sweet trophy. I don't know if we're going to have some sort of team name emblazoned on here. So, if you are going to join a league, keep it PG. You don't want to put a nasty trophy up in front of your kids, like on the mantle at home. That's kind of gross. Anyway, points league, head-to-head. Here are the scoring categories for batters. 2 points for a run, half a point for a hit, 4 points for a home run, 2 points for an RBI, 2 points for a stolen base. What does that tell us? That tells us that batting average is somewhat irrelevant. I mean, hits are worth something, yes, but you're not necessarily going to get dragged down by a guy who doesn't get on base a lot or hit for a high average. So, the George Springers of the world, just the hackers go up in value because the home runs are still worth a lot, but they can't actually negatively affect your batting average, other than just maybe not getting as many hits as, another player, right? Pitching categories. Wins are worth 5 points. Saves are also worth 5 points. An earned run is negative half a point. An inning pitched is 1 point, and strikeouts are 2 points each. So you can kind of go a variety of ways here. My gut reaction is to think that saves are relatively valuable. But then the counter argument to that is, well, you don't just want to load up on closers and not have any starters because you get 1 point for every innings pitched. So for all of the, just like innings eaters guys, there's value to that. And if they strike out some guys along the way and are a few wins, starters have a lot of value too. My gut reaction when I read this all together is what I want to be doing is drafting some, like a lot of closers, whether they're good or not. Like I don't really care. Just so I can rack up saves, and then cycling a lot of starting pitchers in and out. My plan going into the draft is to take all of my bench, or most of my bench, and dedicate it to pitching so that I can have a lot of relievers, kind of just racking up saves, and then I can stream starters in and out based upon matchups to, go big on the wins and on the strikeouts and innings pitched. Anyway, the draft is started here, and I'm first on the clock. I'm going to take Trout. I think there might be an argument to be made for one of the elite pitchers like Kershaw or Felix Hernandez. But, I just can't resist, the outfielder here. We only have 3 outfield spots to fill, which makes him, less appealing. But come on, it's Mike Trout. Let's go. What I'm going to be doing here, I've set up the queue in my draft here to match up with the staff composite rankings here at the Fake Baseball. And, it's not exactly what I would have them ranked as, but we're just going to use this as a frame of reference. So hopefully, if we see a player at the top of the queue that is not valued very high, like relatively in these Yahoo rankings, we can maybe assume that player is a value because I trust my own rankings, and the other writers on the site who do rankings are also good. They know what they're doing. They don't know what they're doing in terms of Clayton Kershaw at number 4 and number 2 overall. Come on, Zach, Justin, you guys got to get together. Pitcher in the first round, pitcher in the top 3 or 4? No way, man. I tend to think of these rankings, especially when I did them, in terms of rotisserie drafts. So they don't correlate 1-to-1 to a points league like this, or even a head-to-head league, because in a head-to-head league you can get away with punting categories, and in a points league, like, points are points. It doesn't matter how you get them. So maybe a guy like Kershaw does go up in value. I happen to believe that pitchers, especially the elite ones, are probably better in a league like the one I'm drafting right now than they would be in a rotisserie league. And not to say better. I mean, they're going to put up the same stats per se, but more valuable. I think a lot of what makes pitching devalued in my mind for rotisserie league is just the fact that it is so replaceable, and that you don't have to win categories by a lot to do well in the standings. Like, you can just have one more win than the next guy and still, have more points in that rotisserie category than your opponent. Whereas here in a head-to-head points league, like, if Kershaw gets me, 50 more strikeouts than some other pitcher that I get 6 rounds later, I mean, that matters a lot over the course of the year, because that's a lot more points per week that I'm kind of gaining my starting pitcher relative to somebody else's. You could make the same argument for rotisserie, but I think it has more impact in points where, all the points stack up together to make one total, it doesn't matter how you get them. Whereas in rotisserie, you can't really, like, punt a category. You can't, punt. I mean, you can. It's just not. I don't like to. I prefer to try to draft a more well-rounded team. Whereas in a points league, you can skew more towards certain stats and certain positions. Anyway, we are through the first round here. Let's see. Where are the draft results? That's a good question. Just kind of catching up on what happened after I took Trout. The next picks were McCutchen, Kershaw, Cabrera, Stanton, Goldschmidt, Abreu, Gomez, Bautista, Rizzo, Hernandez, Jones, Encarnacion, Scherzer, and Cano. Then Rendon was just selected. So, yeah, I'm not... I mean, it seems like chalk for the most part. None of those picks really stand out as me as big reaches or players falling farther than I'd expect them to. I tend to think that drafting a second baseman this early is a bit of a trap. Unless you're getting like a 2020 guy like Rendon. Like, Altuve's nice. And in this format, he's probably better because he's going to just rack up all those hits. And that matters in points. But second base to me, and I've done studies on this in the past, last season, I might do one again this year, that basically says, like, second base is a more homogenized position. And if you're looking for, value in the first 2 rounds, you're better off just taking, like, pure, unadulterated stats, whether that's from, like, a first baseman or an outfielder or a third baseman. Second base, after, like, the elite guys are gone, you can really afford to wait. And because of that, I think there's more value to waiting. Whereas after the first few, like, best third basemen are gone, you're kind of just boned. Like, there isn't a whole lot of value to be had. In fact, because there are so few good third basemen, the third basemen drafted in, like, the mid rounds their prices tend to be inflated, and you have to draft them too high. With that said, a couple picks coming up before me here, and it looks like most of them are auto, so got to figure out what we're doing next. Speaking of third baseman, Beltre is available. Top of our composite rankings right now are Tulowitzki and Hanley Ramirez, followed by Beltre. And, I would tend to agree that, one of those 3 guys is probably a good pick here. Tulowitzki scares me a little bit in a points league because, injury concerns, I think, matter more a little bit in head-to-head because you just, it's not just about replacement level. It's like you lose your second pick for half the draft. You lose a lot there. Beltre, Braun, and Sale were taken there. Some other guys here. I should catch up. After Rendon, Altuve, Ellsbury, Puig, Donaldson, Braun, Beltre, and Sale were taken. So that has us looking at one of these shortstops, and then our next highest player is Justin Upton. And I'm not against those picks. As far as the rosters go here, we should take a look at that, I guess. We don't have to do a middle infield or a second base spot, or excuse me, a corner infield spot. So once I get a shortstop and a second baseman, I don't need another middle infielder, which makes me think that getting a guy like Tulo would have a little extra value. So I might just go with the rankings here, take him, As for what to do with the next pick, I'm kind of torn. If we had 5 outfield spots, I'd jump on Upton, but yeah, I mean, should I think about a pitcher here? Talked about how that could be valuable. Our top-ranked pitcher at this point is Strasburg, and same on Yahoo. Brantley probably has a little bit more value here than normal. We're going to start with Tulo. I'm not a huge fan of this pick, but like I said, we'll just go with the rankings here, kind of see how it goes. This is my first points draft ever. I'm not going to, try to overthink things. I'm going to try to stick to the rankings and go from there. So let's see. Brantley versus Upton. Let's take a look at their stats from last season. Sort by outfield. I mean, Brantley did score more points, largely thanks to, more hits, like 50 more hits, a lot more stolen bases, and I mean, runs plus RBI a little bit higher as well than Upton's. I'm just not sure I want to pay for a career year from Brantley. I mean, Upton had a very good year last year as well. It's a good question here. I do worry about the move to San Diego for Upton as well. Not that, Cleveland is a hitter's paradise either. Let's see. I'm definitely on a hitter plan here. I'm going to take Brantley. Go kind of against the rankings. I mean, he's not too much farther down the rankings. He's only, 3 spots lower than Upton. But yeah, I'm not in love with this pick. But again, we'll see what happens. I like to mix it up for the first few drafts of the year. Draft kind of off book, not necessarily up against my own rankings, because my own rankings are still very fluid at this point. Anyway, there's a lot of time between picks here, and I don't want to have to talk that much for the entire length of the draft. I'm going to pause the recording here and rejoin you, as soon as you hear me stop talking. I'll be right back. Okay, we're back here for what is round 4. Let's recap some picks here. After I took Brantley, the next few picks were Hanley Ramirez, Ian Desmond, Steven Strasburg. So it started a bit of a shortstop run there. George Springer, which seems like a good value in a league like this. Buster Posey, David Price, Madison Bumgarner, Adrian Gonzalez, Bryce Harper, Justin Upton, Freddie Freeman, Yu Darvish, Todd Frazier, Jose Reyes, and then Kluber, Greinke, Wainwright, and Lester. 4 pitchers in a row here. So shortstop run, pitcher run, sounds about right. The top-ranked players on our board are Corey Dickerson, Albert Pujols, Carlos Gonzalez, Nolan Arenado. A couple of Rockies there. Cueto was just taken. He was the next guy on our list. Then Marte and Hamilton. So some speed guys, some power guys. Arenado was just selected. That's too bad. That's kind of who I wanted to take this with one of these 2 picks. I believe he's, he broke out last year. I believe he's due for more of the same this year. And like I talked about, third base is pretty shallow. Anyway, Dickerson, number 1 on our board here. I don't feel bad about taking there goes Pujols, and I'm on the clock. I don't feel bad about taking a third outfielder here because we do have 2 utility spots to play with. So, locking up all the outfield spots this early isn't a big concern to me. My question here is whether or not we want to, get into pitching. I could potentially see myself taking one of these elite closers like Chapman or Kimbrel with one of these 2 picks. If only just to try it. Like I said, the points league is new to me. I'm not, completely sold on just a normal roto strategy for a league like this. Although that could just be fine. Anyway, I do like Dickerson here. I like loading up on some speed guys, and I also, love having Colorado hitters. As for what to do with the next pick, I'm definitely not taking Dickerson and Carlos Gonzalez. Like, I already have Tulowitzki. I don't want to go too overboard on the Coors Field connection. So I'm thinking I might take Aroldis Chapman here, just for grins. I'm really not a guy who likes to pay for saves, but who knows? In a points league, like I kind of like the idea of loading up on relievers and then going deep with streaming starters. So we're gonna take Dickerson with the first pick, and unless I change my mind, we're gonna take Chapman here with the next pick. Let's see, am I just going crazy? Could we do better than that? Let's look at some stats here. Player list. Look at all batters. So next guy on my list is Cargo. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to look at last year's stats and think that those matter at all. But let's see. Let's look at pitchers. So Chapman had 440 points last year. He was injured for a fair amount of that. Kimbrel, 481, played a little bit more. Just in general, I like the idea of these elite relievers because not only are they going to get a lot of saves, assuming, they stay healthy and the closer all season, they're going to rack up an inordinate amount of strikeouts relative to the other closers. And those strikeouts have value here. So yeah, let's get wild. I'll try something new. This isn't the way I would normally draft, but it's good to try new things when you're playing fantasy. If you get locked into the same routines over and over again, you will often, fall into traps where, you might not see, a better strategy lying right in front of you. So yeah, that's it. We got Chapman and Dickerson. Not super sold on this team yet, although it's hard to complain when you have Mike Trout.